All right, everybody, welcome back to the Overwatch Collective Podcast. This is Greg, special one, fellow United States Marine, but also a Medal of Honor recipient, Dakota Meyer. Dakota, thanks for coming on, brother.
Man, thanks so much for having me. Been excited about this one.
Yeah, sweet. No, I appreciate you, man. So really quick before we get started, I'm going to mention our podcast sponsor. Just give me 30 seconds here. I'll read it really quick, and then we'll be off to the races. So Brain Performance Technologies is a specialty mental health clinic that treats patients with transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS. TMS delivers electrical pulses to specific areas on the scalp to alter brainwave activity and treat depression, TBI, post-traumatic stress. Drug-free, non-invasive, improves sleep and brainwave function. If you have TRICARE, whether it's TRICARE Prime or Reserve Select, it's totally covered through TRICARE. So you can learn more today at www.1bpt.com. Brain Performance Technologies. Thank you. So Dakota, once again, thank you for coming on. Like we mentioned before recording, you have an amazing story. Obviously, it's I think something that every single United States Marine looks up to, and it's what we strive for and what we train for. But give us a quick little introduction of yourself before we get into the story, and then you're just going to give a quick little background of it. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I grew up in a small town in Columbia, Kentucky. I was your typical high school student. I remember, I think one of my first vivid memories of understanding and feeling the love for other people in this country was, watching those towers fall on 9/11, from my 8th grade classroom, my art classroom. And, I think that, hold on one second. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Let me redo that. Can you do that again?
You're good. Send it.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what's going on with my computer. So no, I grew up in a small town in Columbia, Kentucky, just your typical high school student, probably a place where most Marines grow up. And, I just remember watching those towers fall on 9/11, probably the first time I ever felt that sense of service, patriotism and all that. And I, enlisted in 2006, went to the Marine Corps, obviously, and then went to sniper school 2007. Deployed right after that, went to Afghanistan 2009. And that's kind of the background.
Got it. All right. Any family in the Marine Corps, first responder, military, anything?
My grandfather was a Marine, served in the Korean War.
Okay. All right. And then I think you said in another podcast, and it's all out there too, but a Marine Corps recruiter was in the back of a classroom and kind of challenged you a little bit and was like, all right, cool, sign me up.
Yeah. I mean, they, just like the Marines do, they put the challenge out there. It's the one branch that doesn't, they don't give sign-on bonuses. They don't do any of that. The only thing they promise you is an opportunity to earn the title Marine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so obviously join the sniper platoon 0317, you go that route, and then you find yourself in Afghanistan 2009. And it was your actions in combat there in 2009 where you were awarded the Medal of Honor. I know we have a bunch of service members listening to this podcast, first responders. Everybody's going to see your name and probably know the story. Can you just give us a quick rundown for probably like the 15th, 100th time of you doing this?
Yeah, if you want to hear the story, go over to Jocko's podcast. I think it's 115. Go hear it. But long story short, we were running a mission into a place called the Ganjgal Valley in the Kunar province in Afghanistan. I got taken out of my team that day. My team went in, they got ambushed, they got surrounded. A bunch of us made trips in, pulled people out. My team ended up getting killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you ended up saving 13 U.S. service members and 23 Afghan soldiers and everything. So badass. Kudos to you. Obviously, I know it was a while ago and everything, but that's obviously what we all train for. And it's stories like that keep us motivated and keep us going. So following that, getting the Medal of Honor, getting out, what was like the biggest transition for you getting out? Obviously, you are a little bit different than the normal corporal or sergeant that does 4 years, getting the DD-214, and then is like about face deuces. You obviously have this story, Medal of Honor recipient. What was kind of the difference between you getting out and then Sergeant Grogan getting out?
Yeah, I would say we got out probably the same. Probably, maybe you probably expected it and I didn't. I didn't have the Medal of Honor until after a year. Didn't even know I was up for the Medal of Honor when I transitioned out of the Marine Corps. I think a lot of people think that, their perception was that I got the medal and then transitioned out. And I had no clue I was even in for a medal. I actually got out because I wanted to go back to Afghanistan or go on the next deployment with the unit, and they told me I couldn't. And so at the point that they weren't going to allow me to redeploy, I got out of the Marine Corps. And I think the transition is the same as it is for everybody. I think that there's it's a multi-dimensional problem, but I think that I think the Marine Corps naturally gives you community. I mean, the fundamentals of what makes every human successful is community, people pushing them to be better, standards that they need to meet, and structure. It's something that if you look at raising children, it's something that makes children more successful. It's a thing that makes people. It's a thing that makes people successful. It makes them thrive. Mm-hmm. And so, getting out of the Marine Corps, you don't have that. I mean, as much as we hate it, as much as we bitch about it, as much as we complain about it, as much as it's annoying, we get out, and that's why we're lost, because there is none. Mm-hmm. And, so I think that's a hard thing to realize. I think so many service members today, and I try to talk about this a lot, is a bunch get out because they're tired of the bullshit. And, you take majority of our service, the service members, their first real job and responsibilities as an adult is being in the military. And so they get out and they think that all these things that the Marine Corps or the military makes you do is unique to that service. And it's not. It's just unique to adulting. And so, talk about it. Where does majority of people after 6 months of getting out, where do they want to be? Back in, because they realize that the same bullshit that they're tired of is the same bullshit that they deal with when they get out. And so, I think my generation, another piece of it that struggled and made it hard was, we talk about the great skills and the great traits that the Marine Corps and the military teaches you, but we don't talk about the bad ones. We don't talk about the drinking habits that, come along with that. We don't talk about the negativity. We don't talk about these bad habits that we form while we're in, or that are, cultivated while we were in. And then, the one thing that we did terrible, my generation did terrible at, I think we're doing better at it now, is mental health, right? I mean, that was a piece that getting out, we dealt, every emotion that we had in the military was met with drinking and suppression, and right. And the mindset of, emotions are weakness, they're all these things. Sleep is a crutch. I mean, all these things are absolutely detrimental over a long period of time and in the wrong situations. And so I think that a lot of those things have got to be broken and they've got to be changed. And, after getting out of the military and understanding that, that's a big piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I appreciate you breaking that down. I do think it's getting better. The mental health awareness, reducing the stigma. I definitely do see a difference in it. I know since Jesse and I started the podcast in 2021, just to talk about it, to share stories, to have people on that have literally attempted suicide. We had a coastie on that shot himself in the chest and missed by like a 16th of an inch. And we broke down that whole story. We've had first responders on that have tried shooting themselves as well. And a Glock of all things goes click, no bang, which is like not really a thing. And so I kind of want to ask you and get your opinion. So obviously the military, you have to have the mindset of compartmentalization, right? Where your feelings, you're compartmentalizing that because you have to focus on the mission, specifically the Marine Corps, right? Like the hardest branch. Pain is weakness, leaving the body. If you go to medical and you complain that you're hurt, you're a broke dick, you're getting looked at in a negative way. I think that's great for like the warrior mentality for like fighting, but it's like also setting us up for failure after post service, because you still have that in your head. And then when you go to reach out for help, or maybe you're recognizing some of the signs like terrible nightmares or some TBI stuff, and then you're like, wait, I can't reach out because I'm supposed to be the big bad tough dude. Kind of curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that I do think that that is a piece of it, right? I do think that people who are usually called for help are hard and the last ones to ask for help. But I also think that, to some point of it is um, we don't help each other. Like we need to police our own. We need to look at accountability and responsibility and put that on the shoulders. And I think, look, I think the biggest shift of a mindset or the biggest shift in verbiage that's got to be done, because I do think that this mental health piece has gone to way too far, right? I do believe that, we're starting to change the words on suicide. Instead of saying commit suicide, now they want to say die by suicide. And it's like, no, you committed it. Like you committed it. Suicide is cowardly. Like it is the most cowardly, selfish act that you will ever commit. Right. And I think that, all these things we can't accept them. The line has got to be drawn so that they aren't an option. And so then the only option is to go get help and get fixed, right? Like that's what we have to do. But so I do think that like part of the problem is we have turned mental illnesses and labels into a feeder for big pharma, victimization, to be able to be weaponized at the most valuable asset that our country has, next to the uniform is our veterans. And so they're the self-identified leaders of our community. And if you get them to be the victims, well, you have just crushed society, right? And you've lowered the standard for everybody. And so, I do believe that is part of it, but I do believe that is only an excuse, right? And so I do believe we can't get into the excuses of it. I do believe that there's got to be accountability. I do believe that get help. But I think that the mindset and the outlook on this, which was the number one thing that kept me from going to get help, because, I mean, let me ask you this. How many first responders, if they break their leg, have a hard time going to the doctor to get it fixed?
If you break your leg on duty, you're going to the doctor no matter what.
Yeah. And do they have a problem doing that?
No.
No, because you know why? Because they know that they can get it fixed. Mm-hmm. They know that they will be back on duty, and they know that the sooner they get it fixed, the sooner they're going to get back on duty. Well, the same thing has got to be applied with mental health. The problem with mental health right now is, and this is on purpose, is that if you get PTSD, depression, or anxiety, they are now looked at as terminal illnesses, not as injuries. And that's what they are. They are simply injuries. Mm-hmm. And if you go get help, you go fix it. I mean, the mindset and the expectation that's put on you, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is the best you can do if you ever get PTSD is manage symptoms for the rest of your life. The best you're ever going to do is be able to be the victim of your own service as long as you manage it. I mean, how many people do you hear say that they got rid of PTSD, that they're past PTSD? Not many. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah, and actually a good amount of people will actually tell you that. So like with us and everything, and I think you've gotten the stellate ganglion block shot.
Yeah, SGB.
Right? Yeah, so you got the SGB shot, and then there's obviously that in conjunction with therapy and everything. And I don't think it fully gets rid of your post-traumatic stress and everything, but there is a bunch of work that can be done to reduce the symptoms and all that.
Yeah, I mean, look, and if I told you that you're never going to get rid of your broke leg, I mean, you're going to walk around and you're going to think about your leg all the time, right? Like, you can cure PTSD. People do it all the time. What is PTSD? Like, well, I mean, it's this aspect of that, of course, some things are going to remind it, but if you break your leg and it rains outside, you're going to have arthritis too, right? But it doesn't mean I still have a broke leg. Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't. Yeah. And so that's the problem we have out there, is that you can get past it. You can make decisions and choices, and you can go get help. You can go get therapy, but you've got to walk in there with a goal. You've got to walk in there willing to do what the doctor tells you to do. You've got to be willing to make the hard decisions. You've got to, I mean, it's no different than I could give you a dietitian, I could give you a gym, I could buy you all the healthy food, and I could give you the best workout plan and trainer on the face of the planet. But the problem is, unless you're going to eat that food, unless you're going to do the work, like you're not going to have any results. And it's the same thing when it comes to mental health. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. And I was at a point one time where I didn't want to hear that. If you told me at some point that I could have, like, you can get past PTSD, like, I would have been so pissed at you because I would have never believed it, nor had I seen anybody that had done it. But what I can tell you is that if I can get to where I'm at today and I wake up and live the best day of my life every single day, and I am able to help others, I will say that if you put in the work, if you go get help and you start changing things in your life that are doing nothing but hurting you and doing nothing but feeding into that, you can get past PTSD. You can not have PTSD anymore. Like, but the issue is that we've incentivized and put the identity of people with PTSD. Like me to be able to say, I'm a, 100% disabled PTSD veteran. Like that is somebody's identity now. And like, it's like, no, you're more than that. Like you are, what you do after that is your uniqueness, not that piece.
Yeah, and that's one of the challenges for us, right? Is the thought of like reaching out for help, and whether you're going through the VA or whether you're going through another therapist, and basically sitting there saying like, yes, I have all these symptoms, and then they're diagnosing you, saying that yes, you have post-traumatic stress, and then for whatever reason you can't carry a firearm, you can't go on the mission, you can't go on the deployment, you're red in some aspect, and then you can't be with your boys and you can't deploy. So I mean, what do you think for those, think about like the active duty Marines out there right now that are in your infantry platoon, right? If you're a lance corporal or corporal and you're struggling and you don't know where to go for help, and that's why we started the nonprofit where we can provide the resources outside the VA. But if you don't go through the VA, I don't really know where else to go. I mean, there are other nonprofits, but
what I will tell you is this is factual. I just went through Oscar training. Even the healthcare providers will tell you that majority of people showing up at their office don't have PTSD and they don't need a healthcare provider. What they need is leadership. They need community. They are lost. They don't have any mentorship. They don't have anybody that cares about them. We are more digitally connected now than we've ever been, but we are more physically, mentally, and emotionally disconnected as we've ever been. And majority of these people are showing up. And then a lot of these symptoms also look like, they look like a label, or they look like depression or anxiety. Like, look, if you're staying up and bad habits, I mean, to be honest with you, if you're staying up and you're playing video games all night and you're never sleeping, what does tiredness look like sometimes? Depression.
Yep.
And then if you're drinking 1,200 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams of caffeine and nicotine all day long, and then what do you think that those symptoms of that are going to look like?
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety. And then you can't sleep at night. So then you have to drink in order to get to sleep at night. And now you're tagging alcohol into it. A lot of these things, and I'm not saying all of them, right? By no means. And I'm not minimalizing anything. But what I am saying is it's just like in combat. It's self-aid, buddy aid, right? And a lot of these things can be treated by people caring about each other. A lot of these things can be stopped before they get big by people caring about each other, by people taking care of each other, by leaders leading others. But the issue is that you've got broken people leading broken people, and nobody can understand or heal somebody else until they've healed themselves. And that is the fundamental problem of why we have a mental health crisis right now.
Got it. And what do you think that the military could be doing better on, or like, do you see any change, any improvements?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think these digital formations, I think that leaders need to look at their people every single day. You cannot, especially in the demographic that's attracted to the military, you're not going to be able to outsource your responsibility as an NCO and as a leader. I will say, I do believe that the mental health aspect of our military can be cured by good NCOs. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that NCOs can fix this. I do believe NCOs can lead our way out of this. I don't believe that another $1 billion into some technology or $1 billion into another, medical aspect, or I don't believe that we're going to be able to outsource, especially in the United States Marine Corps, somebody to fix our problems. The reality is this: the Marine Corps, hands down, is the most emotional branch of all the services. They attract the most emotional people. That's why that branch is built to perform the impossible. That is why the branch is the way it is. That is why the standards, that is why the Marine Corps is the way it is because the people are emotional. Their depth of belief is something that cannot be mimicked in any other branch, 100%, right? And their loyalty to lineage. And so that is the difference between the type of people in, the Marine Corps attracts versus every other branch. And it's on purpose. It's dialed in, it's calculated, and it's good. But with that, it's got to be led. It's got to be taken care of, right? Like in the Marine Corps, and I'll only talk about it's the only branch I've ever been in, right? But what I will say is what can we do better is look your people in the eyes. Actually give a shit about them, right? You shouldn't be asking and outsourcing somebody that you're in charge of leading's problems to somebody else. If you're an NCO in the United States Marine Corps, you are the solutions. You are the results. If your mentality of caring about your people that you're in charge of in the military is not to the level of if they call 911 before they dial your number, you don't care enough about them, nor are you in a position to be taking care of them. And these things are your problem. Like every problem a Marine has. And that's what, the Marine Corps could lead the way on solving this, because the only uniqueness that the Marine Corps has is the people that are in it, the Marines that make it up. And we are a people business. We take care of our people. We love our people to a depth that no other branch loves its people. And that is absolutely, and we do that. Our love is hard. Our love is not the feel-good love. Our love is we're going to take care of you love, and we are going to put what's in your best interest above what you want or what you like at all moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about the Marine Corps, and specifically with me going from the Marine Corps to the Coast Guard, quite the change. An example, Coast Guard, our last unit back in San Francisco, they talked about wanting to put on like a mental health training. So we brought in one of our contracted therapists, and we brought a list of resources and everything. And we spoke about our nonprofit, our podcast, our buddy program, our app, how we can get you and your family members connected to therapy. And then after we did this presentation with the representative from the VA, our senior chief almost gave us a fucking ass chewing and was like, you guys can't advertise and promote your nonprofit while you're in uniform. And I'm like, wait a second, what? So that was one of the frustrating things for us. It was like, hey, we want you to come in and talk about mental health, and we heard you guys do this nonprofit and podcast, everything, and then we got an ass chewing for it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, and what I will say is look, the VA is everybody, like, people talk a lot of shit about the VA, especially nonprofits on the outside, but the VA has a lot of good resources. The VA is a great tool. If you've only been to one VA, you only know one VA. There are a lot of great people in the VA. The VA is trying really hard to find solutions for a demographic that ranges from World War II all the way up to, or not World War II, maybe Korea as well, all the way up to a 9/11 generation. And you can imagine the needs and the challenges are obviously a wide array. And so, all these people, the intentions of trying to do good is out there. But ultimately, as we've seen with billions of dollars, with people trying to come up with more experiences, things like this, the experience and the level of healing that you're going to get is ultimately going to fall on the shoulders of the person that wants to be healed and how bad they want to be healed.
Yeah, it's like you can lead a deer to water, but you can't force the deer to drink the water.
100%.
Yeah. So suicide in the military, obviously, still seeing it, still facing it. Have you lost friends to suicide from your time?
Yeah. My team leader killed himself. The guy left. I've a lot of guys.
Yeah.
A lot of guys. We had guys. Yeah. A lot of guys since I've been out. It's just like everybody else that serves. It seems like guys have taken their own life, and it's terrible. It's terrible. But I do believe that there is an uptrend in this because it has become acceptable. And I don't, as bad as I hate to say it, and as much as I loved, there's some badasses. My team leader was a badass. But he died as a coward. And that is the reality. And I'm not going to back off that. People can hate me. People can get mad about it. But it is the most selfish thing ever. And let me say this, suicide, it takes your pain and doesn't just pass it on to the people that care about you. It multiplies it, it amplifies it, and then it spreads it on to others to deal with it for eternity.
Yeah.
It is, as people, as warriors, as people who serve, people who care, is the most unbecoming thing that we could ever do. And as a person who attempted suicide myself, so I'm saying this in a way of calling myself a coward. But I'm not going to back off this concept and this mindset that it's unacceptable, it's selfish, because the acceptable mentality was what allowed me to get to the period of where I was about to kill myself. The mentality, this aspect, and don't kid yourself. Concepts like 22 a day, they were marketing campaigns to switch product, to make veterans and hurting and pain into products, not for solutions. So this changing this up, it's unbecoming, and it is, get help. There's nothing cowardice about getting help, but killing yourself is cowardice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's on average, there's like 135 people that are affected by each suicide. And I mean, it's probably more than that, right? Like if you think of a battalion and then you lose a service member to suicide, even more than that, right? And then you have the family and everything as well. As far as you, after the your time in combat, everything, the post-traumatic stress, getting the SGB shot, everything, what's the thing that's helped you the most?
What there isn't, I don't know that there's a one shot, I don't, first off, nothing is going to be able to overcompensate for your continuous bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, right? Like, I don't care what you do. They all of them coexist, right? Yeah. So the first initial thing that helped me a lot was the SGB. It was a saving grace, and it would provide relief. But guess what? I will say this, to be fair, I was still making dumb, bad decisions, right? I was still drinking. I was still doing all the things that got me to the point of needing that. And so, I think what truly shifted it, and because I was also in a different point in my life, what truly made the biggest difference, and it was a one-time treatment, was Ibogaine.
Got it. And really quick, I want to circle back to SGB because my wife, she does a lot with Doc Shauna Springer, big in the military community and everything. They're working together. So we've done full podcasts and everything on SGB. So really quick, how did you hear about it? And then did you feel a difference right away? Or how many times did you get it? Kind of talk a little bit about SGB.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget, like, there was a doctor named Dr. Sean Mulvaney, who's kind of the pioneer of this piece of it, right? Incredible guy, veteran himself. And one day, I don't know how I was in this room, but this girl looked at me and she said, "Hey, like, I've got a treatment you should try." And at that point, I was like, "I'll try anything."
Yeah.
And so I went there, and this guy, never met him before. First time I'd ever met this doctor, walked in. He gave me a shot in my neck, did it under, I will say this, I do believe that there's a difference between ultrasound guided and whatever they call the other one where it's under the x-ray. But I will say that the best results that I've ever got is under ultrasound guided SGBs. And so I got, as soon as, I'll never forget, I was laying on this table, and you felt the shot, you got numbed, and you felt the shot go in, and I didn't know if I was dead. I didn't know what happened, but I was laying there looking at the ceiling. And it was the first time I felt, it was almost like you've been on a long ruck and you had sat down and taken the pack and all that off, and how light you felt. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'll never forget, he looked at me and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Don't talk to me right now. I just want to see if this doesn't end."
Yeah.
And it was instant.
Yeah, and that's crazy that it's instant relief, and you feel it right away. And I've heard that so many times. Yeah, I love it. And Doc Shauna Springer she's been on the podcast before. You know, she's written the book Warrior and everything, huge in the military community. And so we're actually the Overwatch Collective. We're trying to work with Stella to actually fund veterans and first responders with getting SGB because not a lot of people know about it.
Yeah.
It's not one of those things that a lot of people really know about it. Let's see. So I'm curious after your military career, right? You do all these podcasts, all these speaking engagements, everything. How do you take care of yourself? Like I know you got girls, right? You have 2 girls.
Yeah, I've got 2 daughters. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I wake up and I live the best day of my life every single day. I mean, I'm so fortunate and I'm so thankful for everything that I've gone through. I'm so thankful for everything that I've been through and the pain that I felt. And because it's sacred knowledge. I mean, the opportunity to suffer and to, look, you can't control what life's going to throw at you. And nor is it unique. There is nothing that anybody on the face of this planet goes through today that someone else hasn't gone through, period.
Yeah.
So like, that's not your uniqueness. It's not your fingerprint on the world. Your fingerprint is what you do with that afterwards. And so, for me, like, I'm so thankful, I believe that combat is the sacred knowledge. I believe that it is the sacred knowledge of the world because you get to see the very best of human beings. You get to see the very worst of human beings. You get to see the power of belief. You get to see how valuable life is. And for me, like, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that I got to do that because I got to do it at such a young age. And now it gives me this knowledge of how to help others, therapists most of the time are working off of education. They're not working off of knowledge. They're working off of what they read in a book, what they learned in a school. For us, if we can get through this and using them as guides to help us get through it, the true impact that we can have as people who have gone through it and have knowledge and experience in it and have lived through it is astronomically higher than them because what they technically are nothing more than teachers in a school. They are teachers in a school empowering you with education to go along with your knowledge so that therefore you can go and lead and learn and teach others.
Yeah, I got you. And so with that, obviously, right, you sharing your story and being so open and honest, and I appreciate you doing that with talking about like your mental health, your suicide attempt and everything. Like, I think that's one of the great things about these podcasts too, is to have a service member or first responder out there that can listen to these, get some resources, realize that they're not alone. It's okay to ask for help and all that. And who knows, we might be able to save a life or get somebody connected to a resource,
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Like none of us have it figured out. None of us have the right way or the exact way. But if you're a first responder and you're listening to this, or you're somebody who's struggling, I mean, you don't even look, first responders, when you talk about, this, I hate the word trauma, but when you talk about true trauma, I mean, combat veterans ain't seen shit compared to what first responders see after 4 years of working the job, hands down, period, hard stop. And the stuff they live through, and if they can do it, we as service members can do it. The only reason that it seemed like this PTSD was unique to service members was because there was a lot more money and funding that could be put behind that, which is why they came out and tried to market this idea that if you hadn't been shot at, you don't know what trauma is. Well, go cut out somebody's wife from a vehicle as their husband's standing there and their daughter's standing there and they're trying, they're dying on you, and let me know, that lives in your community, and let me know how it works, let me know what level of trauma you're at. And that's the thing, is people try to out victim each other, and it's not. And so what these podcasts are good for is you share your story as to, this is what I did. I've been there. I've struggled just like you. I've been where you're at, and hopefully you can get to where I'm at now. Hopefully you can get better, right? Like, imagine this. You said you're a cop, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if only the people that had been fired or the people that had failed the police academy were the only ones that talked to you before you went to the police academy. Would you think you could get through it?
No, because
No.
they failed out and they didn't make it through and everything.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
too many people who failed out on getting better and healing that are out there looking for people to be codependent with, not to empower them to be better with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's interesting to hear you say that first responders endure, and I think it's a different type of trauma on a daily basis. And I've definitely heard it before where combat vets will say like you literally get pounded for 10 or 12 hours a shift with nonstop trauma after trauma, and you don't know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolate, like Forrest Gump would say, where just at any moment you could be sitting there chilling, and then you go to a vehicle fatality, like you mentioned, where you got to extract somebody. But I think it's just crazy to think of like how many service members we have that become first responders after. Because like what you touched on earlier is a lot of the skills, the characteristics that we have. Like you get out as an infantryman, 0311, 11 bang bang, whatever. You're like, okay, what can I do? Well, I'm going to become a cop or a firefighter. So you have all the trauma, the experience from your time in the military, and then you go straight into being a first responder.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean, I think some do that, but I mean, I also believe that the people that choose to serve our country, they serve it because they care about others and they want service above self, and they care about people, and they're fundamentally, it's a fundamental aspect of being able to be there for others and take care of others and being able to do the things that other people don't want to do. I don't know that anybody does it because it's, they definitely don't do it for the money, and they definitely don't do it for the ease of the job or the ease of the life. They do it because they're put on earth as God's people to go take care of others.
Yeah, definitely not doing it for the money. Definitely not. So when did you re-enlist? What was the date on that re-enlistment?
I think it was in April.
April of this year, right? 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so what did that kind of look like for you? What was the re-enlistment process like? And then what's your MOS now, or what's your title? What do you do?
Yeah, so I re-enlisted. It took me about 16 to 18 months in order to go through the entire process, to a prior service recruiter, all that to get back in the system and everything they had to do. I came back in as a sergeant, and I lat moved. So I put in a lat move packet, and so I'm going recon. So I'm halfway through BRC, so I've got to go back. I got I got rolled due to a sinus infection, some things like that, and so I'll go back on January 12th and to finish it up and hopefully graduate April 4th.
Dude, that is legit. That is so cool. And to be going back, and like I can only imagine, right? Like the recruiter, you just like walk in, you're like, yeah, I'm here to re-enlist, and they're like, yeah, we fucking know who you are. Like, what are you doing here? Like,
yeah, no, I went through my prior service recruiter, Gunner Sergeant Pinto, just an incredible guy, really busted his ass to he's badass, but he does it for everybody, right?
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. And then so how are you juggling all of that, prepping for January and having two kids, and you're based out of Texas? Like how are you taking care of yourself and doing all that?
Yeah, I mean, just like every other service member, you just make it work. Where your priorities are is where you put your time, and that's what it's about. And what's important more than the quantity of time with my kids is them seeing an example and a quality of service over self, and to be able to grow up, calling Marines their cousins, their aunts, their uncles, and being able to grow up in a community of people like that.
Yeah, gotcha. No, I appreciate it. Appreciate you explaining that. And then let's see, what are you doing now for like physical fitness and all that? Like I see you all over Instagram, you're working out all the time, taking care of yourself, doing shooting matches and all that. Like is that physical fitness a big part of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I work out every day. I mean, I think physical fitness should be a big part of everybody's life. I think you can be physically healthy without being mentally healthy. I do not believe you can be mentally healthy without being physically healthy. And so, for me, like I work out almost 7 days a week. I do it with intention. Like obviously you see me doing a lot of shooting matches right now because, well, I mean, that's, what you do is what you become. And so, you can't come out and expect to be good at a job that requires you to be physically fit, that requires you to be, mentally fit, that requires you to be all those things if you're not doing things to cultivate that and to sharpen those skills. So yeah, I mean, I work out all the time. My circle's the same, like just people always pushing each other to get better.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And let's see. I'm trying to think of where I want to go from here with this, but let's see. And then you wrote a book, is that right? You wrote a book as well. Did you author a book, or am I just totally making that up?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, so I've got 3 books out, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote a book, Into the Fire, which was about the story, kind of the narrative of the Medal of Honor. And then I went into, wrote a book with Rob O'Neill, who killed bin Laden. We talked about kind of like a further perspective of back, looking back after getting older, and looking back at like kind of the things that we did and how we look at it now versus then. And then I just put a book out probably a year ago called Why to What.
Okay. All right, cool. And where are all those available at so people can buy them and
Yeah, you
learn
can get them
about
all on Amazon.
them? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's see. Do you have any questions for me, the Overwatch Collective, what we do, contracted
Hey,
therapy,
man. I
all
think
that?
it's a badass podcast. I think what y'all are doing is good. I mean, it's definitely needed. We've got to have more resources out there. We've got to be able to compensate for the ones that don't want to go to the VA. One of the biggest things right now is the majority of people that kill themselves or they commit suicide, they never even entered in the VA system, because people out there, I used to talk smack about the VA. I used to talk down terrible about it. But what I'll say is that the VA, what really weighs on me is whenever I paint to other veterans that the VA is so bad that they're willing to kill themselves over going and getting help from the VA. And so I think that we've got to switch that narrative, right? Like, you can go and bitch about the VA or you can go help and help it be better. And so like, I would suggest the latter than the first one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those things where people could talk shit about the VA and then that word gets around and then people are like, "Oh, the VA's trash," so then they don't even try to go. But like you said, we have a bunch of people that work for the VA and they are understaffed, but they're definitely busting their asses to be able to take care of our community. So that's where we come in to supplement that. And in addition
Yeah.
with so many other amazing nonprofits, that's why we called it like the collective. And then Overwatch, obviously, you're looking out for people. Where you literally go to the website, you click on whatever state you're in, and then our contracted therapists pop up. And then the goal is to have 3 to 5 contracted therapists every state with a podcast attached to each. So then you can take a day or two and be like, "Oh, I don't want to work with Greg after listening to his podcast. I want to work with Dakota," for example.
Yeah.
Um, and then we're able to connect them and then fund the therapy and all that. So, yes, as of now, we're at $311,000 spent in therapy, and we never thought it would get to this point. So,
Wow.
so super exciting. But so our motto at the Overwatch Collective is "One more is one less." It actually comes from an Army combat vet, 11 Bravo dude, season 1, where he lost more friends to suicide upon return stateside than actually overseas. So that's where it kind of stuck. And he was like, if we can get this podcast or get resources to one more veteran, it may be one less suicide. So it kind of stuck. So it's on our t-shirts, challenge coins, everything, etc. So what we do when we wrap up the episode is we always ask our guests what one more is one less means to them. So without further ado.
One more is one less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a deep one, right? I mean, that's a deep one, and I think just in the word of it, it is because it's about suicide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is the epitome of what I just said about who veterans are, because it's contradicting. One more is one less, and it's the same thing that when people who serve and people who sacrifice take their own life, it's like selfless into selfish. And I think that that's what we've got to stick to. We've got to make it unacceptable. We've got to make it unbecoming, and we've got to remind people that you're right. One more is one less. And it is the single thing that unites this country right now, which is absolutely terrible. The fear of suicide, the fear of that phone call, the fear of that happening, it is the single decision off of a single thought that unites this country through fear. And we've got to stop it. And it stops by understanding that at no point is it acceptable. What is acceptable and what is expected is to go get help. You can get help. You can get better. You can do all those things. But we've got to change the narrative, and we've got to stop saying that you can't get rid of PTSD. You can't get rid of, we've got to put hope back out there. Like I do wake up and live the best day of my life every single day. Are there sometimes memories that swing through? Yeah, but it's no different than arthritis from where I broke my arm back when I was a kid. It doesn't mean that my arm's broken again. It's just a memory and a reminder of what I came through, what I got through, and what I was able to overcome again, which I am always fortunate for whenever it happens.
Yeah. No, I like it. I appreciate you explaining that. And it's always cool to hear what one more is one less means to everybody, right? Everybody has their own take on it. So sweet. This wraps it up. I just want to say I appreciate you once again for coming on the podcast. Obviously, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy dude. And we're just a little podcast and a little nonprofit, but we're trying to
matters.
We're trying to do whatever we can. Obviously it's, in our eyes, like the little wins that we have just continue to keep us motivated and keep pushing to be able to reach more veterans and first responders across the country. And,
I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, it doesn't matter the size. It doesn't matter, any of that. I mean, being able to help one person is absolutely an impact in itself, because the generations that affects is astronomical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully, as long as we can save one life, which thankfully we've already been gracious enough to have people say, like, if it wasn't for you guys, I would have killed myself. So, super rewarding. But, yeah, once again, man, I appreciate you coming on, and thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.